Here I am, single-handedly trying to bring tags back to YouTube. And I'm so glad for the 5s of 10s of you that enjoy all of my posts. Hello, Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, I don't know how you found me, but stick around, hit that subscribe button. We have fun here. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are doing part 2 of the eyeshadow palette tag. So this is something that I think was created by Samantha March and Allie Glines. And I was trying to find some tags to do. I was in the mood for a tag, and so I found these and I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. So we already released part 1, and now we're doing part 2. So if you're excited to hear more about some of my eyeshadow palettes in my frighteningly expansive collection, then stick around because we're getting into it right now.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right, I will be the best girl in this whole world. No, I'm not gonna fight. I got my hands on your body.
Yes, I am excited. I love tags. I always go on and on about how I miss the kind of old days of YouTube. I know, deleted old. But I love tags and challenges, and I just can't help it. I love them so much. I recently wrote my own tag. Check it out here. It was a collab with Dion Loves Makeup, and her video is fabulous as well. They will both be linked down below. And I love it. So I was searching and I was like, you know what? A lot of these tags really are evergreen. They're reusable. Things that we loved yesterday, we don't necessarily love tomorrow. So let's go in, and I found the eyeshadow palette tag, and I had forgotten that Samantha March and Allie Glines, who I think are the ones that created this, they actually created 2 versions. They came back a year later and did a part 2. So this is now part 2. I found this through Angelica Nyqvist from Sweden. Did you miss that? We haven't done it in a while. And so I was excited. I love her videos, and I love when she does tags. I've been trying to get her to do the self-love makeup tag, so if you want to tweet that at her. I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and record these eyeshadow palettes. So this is part 2, tag part 2. And this one has some more creative questions. The other one is a lot of the typical kind of questions of what's your oldest, what's your newest, what's your most loved, what's your most used, what's your everyday go-to, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. This one I feel like has some different, interesting kind of questions. Now, I did also record part 1. You can check that out here if you haven't seen it. But this is part 2, and there are 12 questions. For real this time, in the last one, I said that there were 12 questions, and there were actually 13. Hooked on Phonics worked for me. So the first question is, what is your all-time favorite palette? Jesus Christ on a cracker. You're going to try to make me choose among all my children? All of them? This is a tough one. But those of you who have been following my channel, it's easier than I'm making it sound. I do really have a love and an appreciation for the Blood Money palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I know. Another filming day, I still haven't recorded my video about the whole Jeffree Star situation. He's kind of disappeared off into TikTok land. I'm in TikTok, but he doesn't come across my For You page, so I don't really know what he's up to, but I do still love this palette. This is just such a beautiful collection of greens. Greens is my favorite color of eyeshadow. I love emerald greens and lime greens and apple greens. This has so many of my favorite shades, like this and this and this and this and this. I just love greens, and I have talked about this palette ad nauseum, so I will stop, but I'm glad this is the first question. Get it out of the way. I love this palette. I know people are all kinds of mad, but I just love it. I just love it. Oh, I just love it. Question number 2 is, what is your new favorite palette? And one that I've really been loving is the Ultraviolet palette by Bella Beauté Bar with Deandra Nicole. I did a purple look with this, and I used a little bit of a Gourmand Girls palette to get a little pop of green. That look, I always look like a clown, but that look I was like, You actually look really good in this. So I was pretty impressed with how that purple came out. And that's all thanks to Bella Beauté Bar and Deandra Nicole, because this palette is so easy to use, so blendable, so blendable, so beautiful. I love this so much. And that purple look was gorgeous. And I used maybe half the shades in this palette. And so I can do a bunch of other, I didn't get into any of these more orchidy kind of shades. So I could definitely take this in a very different direction. I love this. I love it so much. This ultraviolet palette, gorgeous. I'm definitely going to be checking for Bella Beauté Bar. They're a new brand in my orbit. But they're going to be sticking around for sure. If they're all as good as this, it's done. Question number 3 is a repeat from the last tag, which is a palette that you keep for the memories. So instead of doing another eyeshadow palette, I couldn't really think of anything. What I thought of was a product that I used during the 2016 run of Hairspray the Musical. I was cast in one of my bucket list roles of Edna Turnblad.
You're timeless to me.
And so I used the same makeup every night, and it was something that was just very familiar. And it was a palette from NARS. Now I have to say, I can't actually find it. It's here in my office somewhere. I recently took a bunch of stuff. I was doing a declutter, and I took a bunch of makeup out that I didn't want to declutter, but I wanted to put it into my makeup memories collection rather than into my active makeup collection. And I was looking at it, and I know I didn't declutter it because I was looking at it, I was like, it's too used. I want to keep it because I love this from the Hairspray experience. So I have this NARS palette. It was kind of like this. It was one of their holiday palettes. It had a white cover, and this one, so it was kind of like this, except it was one that had the long bronzer pan and then 4 blushes. And I loved that one because not only did I use the blush and the bronzer in my show makeup, but this palette was always backstage during the show, so that when there's that moment where Edna goes through her transformation during Mama Welcome to the 60s, and she goes and gets the makeover, it's a super fast change. And so we didn't really have time to do much with the makeup. And what we did was, I had this NARS palette back there. We had a tube of Jeffree Star Velour liquid lipstick in the shade Masochist, which they don't make anymore. It hurts my heart. It's a beautiful kind of bright fuchsia pink, but it's got a little depth to it. And so what we would do is I would have this NARS palette, I would have it open, I would come in and they would be like changing my clothes on me, and I would just be adding lipstick. That's all I had time to do, was add this bright pink lip. And then I would go, when I was off stage, I would go and add additional eyeshadow and other things to kind of zoop up the look. But that was the main change that we could do, was do these beautiful big like pouty red fuchsia lips. And then I came out and did the rest of that song, and then I would add some more eyeshadow backstage. Now, I didn't keep the eyeshadow palette from that show. I don't know why. It wasn't really an eyeshadow heavy look. So obviously to start the show, I had to have drag makeup on because there wasn't time for a full transformation. And I was still playing a female character to a female character, but just one that gets a little bit of a makeover. So I started with kind of a base and very neutral shades, and then I would add a few little touches here and there. And then for the finale, I added some bright colors. And so for most of the show, I was wearing the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, those rosy nudes. They were perfect for nude-faced Edna, and I did just kind of a skin-toned lip, and then I did something where I had a little bit of shape, a little bit of color, because then when I went backstage, I got a new wig, I added the pink lips, I got the fancy dress, and it really looked like a makeover. But I didn't keep that eyeshadow palette. I don't know. The NARS palette, I have so much more feelings towards. I don't know if it's just because that was sitting right there every time I did the quick change, and so it just feels like that moment of the show. Naked 3, I was so bored with that. I did the same color every day, and I actually wore one of the shades down to the pan, and I just moved to the matte shade right next to it because that palette was like 20 shades of boring. And so it was perfect as a setup, but it didn't feel the same emotionally to me. So I decluttered that ages ago, and I've kept the NARS palette somewhere. I just haven't kept it in a place where I can find it. I'm a clown. Question number 4 is, what is a palette that you think is really underrated? Now, I kind of have drifted away from this brand. I keep an eye on their releases. I've picked up a thing here and there. I have been loving their cake liners for my brows. But in terms of eyeshadows, I haven't really kept up as much with Give Me Glow. But I love Give Me Glow. I think their formulas are very different from a lot of other brands on the market. But I think that they overall are kind of underrated. And there's one palette in particular, I don't know that it's available anymore. Like I said, I haven't really checked their eyeshadow. I know they discontinued a bunch of stuff and they've been changing the format. But I love the Christmas Morning palette. I think that this is such an underrated palette because it's easy to dismiss it as just a throwaway holiday release. Because when you look at it, it kind of looks like the stereotype of Christmas, right? We've got green and red, we've got a matte and a shimmer, and then we've got silver and gold shimmers, and we've got a matte that goes with each of them. This kind of stone taupey shade, and then this more tan brown. But you know what? These are perfect little two-shade looks. So like if you want to do a green eye with a little bit of a flip, a little multi-chrome flip, that's perfect. This is perfect together. These are great. So these great little like two-tone, just very simple eye looks. You can pair them to make Christmas, but you can also pair the greens with the browns. You can pair the reds with the silver and the taupe. You really can get a lot of use and a lot of different looks that don't have to look like Christmas. So I think that they achieved the sort of Christmas nostalgia effect with the colors, but I think they laid them out very smartly by putting the green next to the brown and the red next to the silver so that you get a sense of these quads. And obviously you can combine however you want, but if you're a little bit overwhelmed and you're not sure how to use these together except for the little duos, do the quads. You know, put any of the duos together. You could use the brown and the red. You could use the green with the silver. You could use the green with the red. You know, you really can mix and match. And I think that this is underrated. If you find it, if it's available, if it's in your collection, pull it out again. I think that this one does not get the love that it deserves. Question number 5 is, what's a palette that's not a favorite, but you just can't get rid of? Are you ready for me to gush about Blend Bunny again? I love the Dollhouse palette from Blend Bunny. Is it my favorite? Obviously not. If you watched my ranking, any neutral palette is always going to be under the colorful palettes. That's just the life I lead. It's who I am as a big hooker clown. The neutral palettes are never going to win over the colorful palettes. But when I do get a little hankering for a neutral, this is a great way for me to do that because this still has some colors. We've got some purples and blues. We've got these kind of neutrally pinky plum shades. We've got some orange over here. And a lot of the neutrals are very cool toned, which I like. So this is something that gives me an opportunity to play with neutrals, but not completely give up my color and not feel like I'm just looking at 50 shades of beige. Whenever it's all just beigey, warm neutrals, beige, mustard, gold, I can't take it. I'm so bored. I love this. It's perfect neutrals for the non-neutral lover, so I will never get rid of this. Never. I love it. Number 6 is, what is your fave collab palette? I have a lot of collab palettes in my collection. I love collab palettes. I love them especially because I feel like sometimes bringing somebody else in really does something different for the brand. Because sometimes brands, even if they're good at it, they get into doing their thing that they're good at. And sometimes having that new perspective, you get a color story you were never expecting. And I absolutely love the Hella palette from Odin's Eye and Angelica Nyqvist. This is the original. This is the first one that they did. I also love the Halloween, but this is my favorite. Are we surprised? More greens. I love green eyeshadow, and I love green eyeshadow with pink eyeshadow. Green and pink together just does something to me. It's so retro. It's so 60s to me. I just love it. Unless you have bubblegum pink and mint green, that's 50s to me. But everything else, very 60s, and it feels vintage. I just love it. It feels like a trip to the thrift store and finding something you didn't know you needed. Like, I just love it. And these plum shades down here are beautiful additions. I just love this. I love it so much.
And she's gonna talk about Blend Bunny again.
So question number 7 is, what was your 2023 favorite palette. Now, at the time it was 2021 favorite palette, but because we're recording this in 2024, I'm doing my favorite palette from last year. And if you watched my Best of Beauty Awards, which you can review right here if you didn't get a chance to watch it. But my favorite product of the year for last year was the Blend Bunny Machina palette. Now, this was gifted to me by the brand. I do love this palette so much, and it really was my favorite product of the year last year. I love this mix of more kind of organic garden florally tones up to then this swampy green. I did a Pickle Queen look with just this row and then this shimmer that was to die for. So beautiful. Check my Instagram at JayeOfficial. And then we get into these like robotic silvery gray kind of shades, and then these blue. These shifty shimmers are stunning. They're so beautiful. I absolutely love this palette. I've only done a few looks with this, and there's so many more that I want to do, because you really can do kind of, again, with Blend Bunny, I love that you can always just do a kind of monochromatic look with a single row. You can pick 2 rows and combine them in interesting ways. I love this. This was my favorite palette of last year. It was my favorite product of last year, bar none. Nothing beat this palette. Question number 8 is a palette that you didn't expect to love. Now, this is going back into the makeup archives. This is another one that's not available. Sorry, I know. Sometimes with these tags, when we're doing our memories of makeup, we show you things that are not available. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But the palette that I didn't expect to love was the ABH and Jackie Aina palette. I love this palette. First of all, this like crocodile iridescent beautiful packaging. I love it because it sticks true to, they used to always make these palettes that had the velvet, and the velvet would get dirty and disgusting right away. This is smooth enough that you can wash it, but it still has that sort of textile feel. So I love that. I love the color. And oh, it's just beautiful on the outside. And then on the inside, I was surprised with how much I loved this collection of neutrals. They're a little bit darker than a lot of palettes, and I think that's why I like it, because so many are just boring beige Becky bullshit. And this is much deeper, much richer. Obviously, Jackie is a beautiful black woman, and so she picked colors that worked with her skin tone. And that's what I want. I want vibrancy, I want depth, I want beautiful blendable shades, and this really surprised me for how much I loved it. So I don't pull this out too often, but whenever I'm doing a declutter, this is never even on the table. This is such a clear, gotta keep it. I've decluttered most of my ABH, but this one is definitely one I have to hang on to. Number 9 is what's a palette that sparks joy? Now, for me, that's going to be something that's new. Everything that comes into my collection sparks joy, right? But when I was thinking about what is it that really kind of sparks joy, maybe speaks to my little queer heart. When I was a kid, I loved Betty Boop. I just thought she was fun. She was quirky. I liked her little squeaky voice. I loved that vintage cartoon style. And of course, we all know Glamlight has been hitting the collab train hard. They have been on this journey, and they did a Betty Boop palette. I haven't even gotten a chance to play with this. This is still untouched. I know I'm behind. Things are just a little bit wild in my world. But I love this. I just look at it sometimes. Sometimes if I need a little break at work, honestly, this is going to sound so stupid, but other like makeup obsessed people will get this, is sometimes you just pull out a beautiful palette and just look at it. And just think about what you might combine together, what shadows you would work together, what kind of looks would you create with this. And this is one that I've kept near my desk. And if I'm having a stressful day, I'm just like, let's boop boop a doop for a minute. Let's just take this out and look at these beautiful reds. Oh, and then it gets deeper and more berry toned. And these kind of fun, interesting shit. I just love this. It just sparks so much joy for me. So I haven't even had a chance to play with it, and it's already sparking joy. So I definitely need to do a look soon. I just have been so behind, and I've been trying to, like, as palettes come in, if I'm doing a filming day or I'm doing a look or doing some TikToks, I try to do the newest thing so I can at least post it. I know that's the unfortunate world that we live in, is, like, it's hard to get any traction if you're using older stuff, but I don't care. I need to, this is still available. This is still an option for people. So I need to do a look and just play around and film some stuff because I love it. So question number 10 is another repeat from part 1, and it's the newest palette in your collection. So in that one, I talked about the Charmer palette from Unearthly Cosmetics, because that one had arrived the week that I was filming these videos. But one of the videos that we filmed today, I know, spoiler alert, if you didn't know, a little peek behind the curtain, obviously you see the same makeup look with different hair multiple times. Angie and I get together and we have a filming day and we film multiple videos kind of back to back to back. So I filmed my Odin's Eye unboxing video, which is conveniently linked right here for you. And I knew that most of that was going to be a repeat for me, but I was hoping to get one of the OG legendary Diversa palettes, and I did. And so my newest palette, just being opened and unpacked and added to my collection today, is the Hummingbird palette by Odin's Eye and the Fancy Face. I hadn't really started shopping from Odin's Eye at the time when this set of collabs came out. I was watching Annette's Makeup Corner from time to time. I would watch the Fancy Face occasionally, but I didn't really vibe with her. And so I didn't know enough about the brand to decide that I wanted to buy that collection, and I didn't buy any of the individual palettes. And let me tell you, the makeup FOMO is real. I haven't felt makeup FOMO for something this hard since the Kat Von D Me Vita Loca palette. And if you were around the beauty community when that came out, and for like 2 years after, you know that if you didn't buy that palette, everybody was showing it off in their videos, everybody had it in their favorites, and then eventually most people had it in their declutters. And so I have been kicking myself that I didn't pick up these. Now, speaking of the Me Vita Loca palette, that was even worse because I actually held that in my hand on at least 2 separate occasions. Once in Grand Forks at our Sephora inside JCPenney, and once in the Seattle Sephora, and they both had stock. I could have bought it, and I picked it up and held it and swatched it and loved it and didn't buy it. And I did the same thing with these damn collab palettes. These I didn't hold because obviously they're online only. I didn't fly to Sweden and like swatch them, like break into the facility. But I have been kicking myself, and I'm so glad that I got the Hummingbird palette. Because of the 3, this is the color story that I wanted the most. I also really liked the Annette's Makeup Corner color story. I thought that was really beautiful. And Judy's was beautiful, but it was much more warm toned. I'm much more of a cool toned, bright, vivid kind of person. So I'm so glad this entered my collection today. Who knows, maybe I'll go on Mercari or something and try to find the other 2 now that I have one of them. But I'm just glad that I did get this one. I'm definitely going to have to do a look or something with this just to celebrate that it finally got added in as the newest palette in my collection. And once again, I don't know how to count. This one I was like, I'm totally sure there's definitely 12 questions. And then as I'm going through, I get to page 2 in my little notebook, and I realize that I've numbered from 10 to 12. So I went back to Angelica's video to make sure that I didn't leave off a question. No, there's just 11. So both of these videos, if you put them together, there's an average of 12 questions in both videos. But this one only has 11. I guess I just went for the average because I am nothing if not your average girl next door. If you happen to live next door to a Betty Ford Center. So question number 11. The last question on the list is, what was the first palette that you used in 2024? And I went back to Instagram and was looking because I'm never really sure, because with filming days, I can't go by my YouTube dates because sometimes I film shit and it doesn't get edited for a long time. So I had to look at when I was posting stuff, and I'm pretty sure that the first look that I did in 2024 was using the Dreamer palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. So I picked up the Dreamer collection and I did a beautiful look for a filming day that we did, a pinky purple. This is really a gorgeous color story. I'm going to flip it around so it's easier to hold. But I used the purpley, beautiful pinky tones in here. This is a really gorgeous palette, and this I think would actually pair really well with the Charmer. So this one, if you feel like it's maybe, I know the shimmers are bright and beautiful, but the mattes are a little bit calmer. They're a little bit more sedate. If you wanted to bring some flashy color with some matte in, you could absolutely pair this with the Charmer palette. But this was the first palette that I used in 2024. All right, that is the video. That is the eyeshadow palette number 2. I can't count, but I love eyeshadow. That's my only excuse for this video. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of my subpar math skills, what you think of this collection of palettes that I showed you. If any of these are also favorites for you, let me know down in the comments below what you think. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to let me know that you support me, even if I can't count all the way to 12, apparently, or above 12. I don't know what's going on. Let me know. And if you think I've been left behind, this child was left behind in the math department, give me that thumbs down. You can give me your disapproval. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel, become part of the family. We have a lot of fun here, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to have at least one video out a week for you, and I usually hit that goal, and sometimes you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, tagerific. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne, at janessajay.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I love these tag videos. They're so much fun. If you have any ideas for tags, let me know down below. Go watch my tag with Dion Loves Makeup that we made up ourselves. If you're a creator, please do it and tag us. We would love for people to do this tag as well. I have so much fun with tag videos and challenges. I have to get going because I'm about to film a challenge video right now. Ooh, secret. You might have already seen it actually, but we'll see. But I love and appreciate all of you and the time you spend on my channel. So until I see you again, bye. This palette is nice, so I'll say it twice. But you've said it 3 times, Rose. No, this is going to be stupid. I'm not going to do that.
What the heck were you trying to...
I had an idea, but it's dumb.
Yeah.
Let's ignore it.
Okay. Was Rose in reference to Golden Girls stuff?
Yeah. It's the palette I like so much we're doing it twice. I guess actually it's part 2. But it's a little bit the same, but a little bit different. And the same old clownery, but with new answers. This is just terrible. I don't have a cold open for this video.
Good enough.
It's good enough.
Do that weird
it's good
one
enough.
and be like, do I know what I'm talking about? Not necessarily. But here we go. Here's our video.
Here we go.
You know?
Oh, fuck. A nail just came out.
Oh, no.
I don't know what that... Whoa, what is that?
I love this and this and this and this and this.
I got too much. New favorite palette. Now if I had to... Oh, now if I had to pick... Well, I do have to pick because that's the question.
I kind of like Blendiful.
Blendiful?
Yeah, I kind of like it's like beautiful and blend. So like if it's a beautiful color that blends
It's
well,
Blendiful.
it's Blendiful. Coin it, make it yours,
Make it mine.
make money off it.
Oh yeah, and then I picked the one that doesn't fucking... It's so hard to
You
open.
want me to try it?
No, I got it eventually.
Hella good pick.
I want vibrancy.
Would you say they're Blendiful?
Blendiful.
What's going on?
So I said, this time I know that it's 12 questions, except I just look at it and I numbered 10 and then 12. So I need to look and see if I missed a question or if I just really can't count. And I got it.